Good evening. I will call the February 24th, 2025 Hillsborough Town Board work session to order. Do we have any changes to the printed agenda?
Move to approve as presented.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do we have a second? Thank you, Megan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve as presented. Second.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Megan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have one in-depth topic for this evening, and that is a discussion about potential ideas to celebrate the 250th anniversary of July 4th, 1776. As has been noted, Hillsborough plays a very special role in the early days of American history and with numerous important events and people and places in and around Hillsborough. So we want to have kind of a discussion about what should the town do, if anything. So I will turn it over to Shannon.
Yeah, so for the summarized A250, great. And the state is playing a role here too in encouraging all the municipalities and counties to kind of figure out their own ways to celebrate. There's more information if you Google A250. North Carolina, the state has, a video they've put together about what it means to some different communities and so they have some thematic things that they've got going. And so this is a really timely conversation for how does the town and the town board want to be involved because the tourism board and the TDA, you guys are already well into your budgets because you have a significantly more amount of money that you have to budget and deal with. But the TDA and the tourism board kind of start their process right about now. So they're going to be talking about, how they want to contribute or what they want to do as well. So if we can do something in partnership together, now is the time to start talking about it.
Museum also has grants from Project 250 to participate, so they're going to be participating in that too.
Historical Museum.
Yes.
How does that work?
So they've received a grant to build programming around that. So I mean, they also are, there's conversations going on. So while we're talking about tourism and TDA, I want to make sure that we include them in the conversation because they applied and received. And it's a respectable grant and are already engaged in conversations. I'm not going to volunteer them for anything because staff would kill me, but,
So all the organizations in town are already involved in some way, and we have been having meetings and kind of talking about this. Everybody has ideas. Some organizations have gotten some grants that were available from the state. The Alliance has kind of been putting together those meetings, and so we're all talking to each other.
okay, good. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and I think Mayor Bell just wanted to kind of see how the town wanted to get involved and kind of what you all have as far as a vision for what you would like to see happen. The individual organizations may also kind of be doing their own smaller things throughout the year.
If I can add a little bit more context to that. So we've had 3 meetings since maybe August or October of last year. And it's the usual suspects in Hillsborough. It's the Alliance, Burwell, Museum, about probably a dozen individuals who are very involved and interested in history, the tribe, African American churches. It's very broad. And up to this point, they have been kind of convenings and sharing ideas about what are you doing, what are you doing, what are you doing. And then, so the question is, I think I've said this before, the question came in my mind, what is the town going to do? I mean, we have organizations who are doing something. We have tourism board and TDA that might do something. The Chapel Orange County Visitors Bureau is the organizer of the A250 grants in Orange County. But it made sense to me that the town of Hillsborough might have its own ideas and opinions and the ability to fund some of those things, because traditionally, as everyone knows, we don't do events ourselves. We contract with or support or endorse organizations who do those events. So it's now's the time for us to kind of have a conversation about that. What should we do? And then do we need to think about setting aside some money or doing matching funds with tourism board and TDA to support something? So of course, my great idea was fireworks. Let's do a fireworks show. And then Shannon says, no, we can't do fireworks. because they-
Well, not
It's
cheap.
crazy
It's
expensive.
just
It's very
expensive.
expensive
There's
and
liability. You have to have a fall
Just to do
zone. So we couldn't like set them off over historic downtown. We would have to set them off to the side, maybe, yes, maybe.
Because I would
Some
say
area.
that's something that, you know, when it comes to fireworks, that is a municipal thing that usually occurs. And I'm sorry, there is nothing so crazy cool as a great fireworks show, and even if it took it all the money, it would be well worth it. You
My
know,
dog disagrees.
I know animals don't like you, that, whatever, but, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something that I was gonna raise, I'd like to see us do.
So if I can just kind of stimulate a little bit more conversation about this, and let you know that I've been approached by the museum, and I've had conversations with the museum and the Alliance. And so I think the way it kind of shakes out is that the Alliance and the museum have a deeper level of subject matter expertise and experience with events. And the Arts Council, for example, said, we want to be involved and support, but you know, we can't drive this kind of thing at all. So, so those conversations have been going on, and there's some really, really good ideas out there. And my initial thoughts were, that somebody needs to invest resources into organizing and coordinating. Because the analogy I used at the last organizational meeting was like with Uproar last summer, where you had numerous art installations across Orange County over a period of time. And it dawned on me that with all of our organizations doing different kinds of things over a long period of time, that requires a tighter degree of coordination at a higher level, but nobody has the resources to be the lead on that, because they're doing their own programming. They're doing their own things. They might be applying for a 250 grant. Several applications have gone in. I think one of them was used to fund the Outlandish Hillsborough last year. Yeah, so I think kind of the low-hanging need is we need to find some resource to coordinate and organize and schedule meetings and plan and network among the organizations. And the Alliance seems like the natural partner to do that, because that's what they're created to do. And the museum has really deep subject matter expertise in history and Hillsborough's role and original documents and on and on. So I think those two organizations would be natural kind of organizers of that. And the museum has said that they don't have any like part-time employees looking for full-time employment for the next 18 months.
Right.
So they were out, and the Alliance has 3 full-time staff, but there's no spare staff there. So, and I think I had a brief conversation with Shannon and Megan, and that's when, you know, the notion came up that, well, if the town needed to fund something, now's the time for us to think about it, because our budget cycle is about, you know, over. This is the last budget cycle before the celebration, right? So we have to, if we're gonna do something, we have to figure it out now. But also the tourism board and TDA I think we've done matching funds or contemplated matching funds, like a 3-way split with things in the past. So that seems like a natural idea too. So there, now I've told you everything I know or have thought of so far about HU50. So I guess I should maybe ask Megan, from the tourism board and TDA perspective, is there anything?
We really haven't discussed it in the meetings that much at all,
Not yet.
Not
Yeah,
yet,
we're still a year and a half out, which feels like a long time, but it's not. It's gonna be here before we know it. So I like I said, I think it's timely to bring it up and start talking about it, but we'll have to kind of start having those conversations and see kind of what the TDA Tourism Board's vision is. And generally, I think that you all and them have worked together on projects pretty well. So I think if you all have ideas, and take them to that board as well and see what their thoughts and feedback are.
Kind of one more thing I forgot to mention, and at least from the A250 NC organizational effort, it's there's a parallel between some of the guiding principles of that to the Telling the Full Story program that the Alliance and the Tribe and other stakeholders in town have done. So I don't want anybody to think that this is just about celebrating colonial history and the Constitutional Convention and the Provincial Congress and when the legislature met here 3 times before, during, and after the Revolution. So it's not just that, it's about everything else. So the key is tying in all the other things that have developed over, for us, the past 270 years, but 250 years of the of celebration of July 4th. So it's broad and requires thinking and coordinating our events. So anyway, I forgot to mention that part. Rob, do you have any ideas, suggestions, thoughts?
I have
How to approach
some
this?
questions really, if more than anything. I love the idea. That last bullet point though, about the town, may not have the capacity to run a major event, I concur with. But it doesn't mean that we can't provide a space for an event, whether that's a park or just, one thing, spaces we could do that. I'm curious, what are those meetings that you've had with these other groups, do they know what they want from the town, or they're just,
No,
okay,
they, in fact, they've been only operating or thinking inside their own spheres,
American.
not really thinking what the town should do. And that's what caused me to put this on the agenda, is that we're a stakeholder, maybe the biggest stakeholder in the conversation, so.
and are you think, so the steering committee, would that be made up, what would make up the steering committee?
Well, there's already a group doing the work.
Okay,
They've had 3 meetings, so it's not like there's a vacuum of those ideas, but I think when we met, forgot how long ago that was, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks ago, that they don't plan to meet again until September, which in my mind is like too late. Because some of these things are gonna take a longer runway to plan and to be efficient, so, yeah, that's a good question.
yeah, so I mean, I think definitely, obviously we can contribute in some capacity. I just don't know what that is now, whether again, it's a site that we provide to do a larger scale kind of community event. I don't know if it's, partnering with Orange County to utilize River Park and do something kind of in downtown. So yeah, I don't really have. I don't have anything more to add, I guess, at this point.
Since I pivoted away from the idea of fireworks, some of the other things that have come to mind or people have mentioned, so I don't take credit for these ideas, are a kind of a hometown kid-oriented 4th of July handmade kind of parade, picnic in the River Park that afternoon, that evening. That would be pretty sweet. Of course, reading the Declaration, those kinds of activities. And then do you want to mention your idea?
Oh, which one?
The drones.
Oh, yeah, so I had someone,
they're up there.
contacted me a while ago, that, after Mark had mentioned fireworks, they're a drum company.
Yeah.
So they have, they do laser light show things with drones. They don't need as much, room. We don't have to worry maybe as much with the fire as being a concern, or like the fall zone or the fall area. So there are companies that are FAA certified and could potentially do some kind of a, and I thought that would be neat, kind of a past meets present. Drone's pretty.
No, that
Futuristic.
would be wicked cool. I would forgo for fireworks for a wicked cool drone show.
It could be neat. And then in Boone, where I went to college at App, they used to do like a small parade type thing for 4th of July and then have like a watermelon eating contest or something like that. Just fun. Or they'd give away free popsicles because it's hot. It was really hot on July. People forget about that when they're planning events for July 4th, just how hot it is that time of year.
Sorry to be late, but the police were supposed to pick me up and they forgot, even though I talked to them at 4 o'clock, so.
Uh-huh.
Two of them brought me in 2 cars.
Oh.
That's true.
Yeah.
One had one like
Like,
something, one had
yeah.
a broken, and one had me. So I got an escort.
We're glad you're here.
I made some, I don't know how
It's
far
a
you
couple
are, I'm
parade.
sorry, but I apologize, I was ready to go.
Okay. All right, well, I tell you what, let's keep going around the table, Matt.
Okay, I didn't know where you were, I thought I could shed some light about what we did when we had the 250th birthday for the town event.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have a letter from the mayor to the Arts Council that I can read from just to give you, yeah, that as well. And you're on that, you and Brian.
Is it?
Yeah,
went on
yeah,
board
we
at the
did.
time. Yeah, so I'll let you say that when we get to
Okay,
you.
yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
I think that it is worthy for us to discuss the America 250. And what kind of organizing role the town can play. I will say I have a lot of reticence about investing too much time and resources in general, whether that's money or staff resources, because we know what the budget picture for next year looks like. It doesn't look good. I think that leveraging TDA and tourism board dollars definitely could help in regards to offsetting some of that funding that would be needed. But knowing that staff doesn't have a lot of capacity, excess capacity, especially in Shannon's division, the tight budget picture, I would need something more concrete to respond to, including like a dollar figure and that sort of thing. But I think the town does have the power to convene, and having an ad hoc committee similar to when the town did the 250th anniversary of the town, that makes a lot of sense. And also, I don't think anyone's mentioned the county as well, but I think it would make a lot of sense to know what the county is doing, if anything, and partnering with them on that as one of those bigger partners, because they have a lot more resources, a lot more reach. Also constraints similar to what we have in terms of budget, but they do have the power to convene and have staff related to cultural resources, and whether that's Peter, Katie Murray, and others that I think, Lori Policelli, that I think really makes a lot of sense to make sure that we're leveraging those connections as well. So I know we're just talking about it, but I am just being very cognizant that we have a budget retreat on Saturday and a lot of requests and other things. And to me, this is extra credit. It's a cherry on top. But I don't want staff trying to scramble to figure out how to make it work in a budget when they're being asked to cut things back, hold off on hiring, and other things. So, those are just my initial thoughts.
Thank you, Matt.
Um,
And excuse me, for the record, the county is completely involved
Okay.
in the K250 celebrations, including Peter and Katie. Lori has been invited, I'm not sure if she's been to the meetings.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but you're right, that's a great observation. There could be a fourth partner because
I share budget concerns, so I mean, this is not something to go willy-nilly. On the other hand, given it's 250 is a milestone. And I think in terms of looking back of what we do or not do, and if it's minimal, I think that's a travesty, frankly. And I think given there is a lot of stress and concern that's consumed, I mean, there's trauma out in the community. this is where the town bringing people together, that while it celebrates history in town, but just genuine community, I think that's really important. And I think that is a value add and a worthy budget expense. Again, I'm not saying that we go overboard and not be fiscally irresponsible. I love the drone thing. That brings out whole family things. It's unique. They'll probably bring other people into town, which I think benefits all anyway. I know we've talked about the town coordination. You know, I'm sitting here thinking, well, what if we contributed money to hire someone? Volunteer, and there's probably people who would do some, partial pro bono, partial, it's not gonna be top dollar. And that's something worthy, but if we were to do nothing else, and since we can't do fireworks, drone, absolutely, and it's for that reason, because that togetherness and community, it's memorable. I mean, that's things that as a kid, you remember for a lifetime. And for an event 250, I think that's appropriate. And that's just a joyful experience that's priceless. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Kathleen. Evelyn,
So which mayor did you have a letter from?
it is Sheffield, I believe. I'll pull it up, let you know in a second.
You were on the
Okay.
ship with Brian, and you were on the.
I was in charge of it.
I thought so. I couldn't remember.
And so what I did, it was to get somebody from each of the organizations, like the Alliance, the Girls School, all the different groups came together and we met probably once every 2 or 3 weeks. Donna Umbrissa kept she kept notes, and she wrote everybody who participated got a thank you note, because people always say we serve on these things, but nobody ever thanks us. So there was one person. So anyway, we got the first town flag was made over at the Carrot Top or something.
Yeah, Carrot Top.
So we got the first town flag, and it had the dates and everything on it. We had a parade. And we had all the living mayors. And there was a very disturbance. Mr. Cates rode in a different car. He wouldn't ride with Mr. Clater was living, so it was Mr. Clater and Frank Sheffield and Horace Johnson rode together, but Mr. Cates rode separately, and Joe Phelps rode with the town board. He wouldn't ride, he was mayor, he wouldn't ride with the board. It was just, but it was a nice parade, and we had somebody dressed up like William Hooper, and he had it was Ernest from the
$100.
museum. He had on just like you think, he had a little statue with maps and everything. And it was really nice. It wasn't the biggest turnout, but it had a lot of children, and they brought their own lunch and had a picnic on the old courthouse lawn. And so the town didn't have to furnish food. It was, but we had all these meetings, and I can't think what else we did, but we had a lot of had a lot of free advertisement. And there was people from Chapel Hill. There was a woman who, I'm not sure she was good. She does like you would do. She would put announcements out. And there was some from Chapel Hill, but is Chapel Hill gonna have their own celebration?
Are we done with that?
So I mean, if it's gonna be one in Chapel Hill, is there gonna be one in Carrboro? They're gonna be in Hillsborough, or are we all gonna be together?
Carver already has a Fourth of July celebration.
Chapel does too, they do fireworks, I think, something in the park.
And it would be good for fireworks. I mean, I don't know, you said fireworks, I don't know whether we could have fireworks after the fire marshal or the,
Yeah, that was my concern.
I don't much think it'd be a good idea to have fireworks.
Evelyn, it was Joe Phelps who sent the letter.
And, oh, Joe Phelps had better given me credit. He assigned me to be in charge of everything.
It was you and Brian and Donna Ambrister, the town
Yeah.
clerk, and Kathleen Turner.
Oh,
then of the
that
alliance.
was basically the clock, that was the clock committee. He's confused, I think. It was somebody from each group. That's not right. That was the clock committee. We did the clock.
There was someone, that was the very first thing I did in Hillsborough, was the clock committee. Mike
Uh-huh.
Garing was involved in that too.
Mike Gehring was involved in both.
Anyway, this was dated February 2nd, 2004. It's from
Well, I
Joe
mean, you can
Phelps.
say what but he didn't serve on 254, whatever it was, 254th birth,
It's the 250th of Hillsborough.
250th, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of 1754. He didn't serve, Michael didn't serve on that committee. I'm sorry, but he didn't. It was basically women, all women, except, well, yeah, it was.
Margaret was involved with that.
Margaret? I said, no, Margaret wasn't.
Oh, I thought she was.
No, she wasn't.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
I remember.
Okay.
And I don't know what else you want me to say, but I just remember the flag was important. That took a lot of time. To just think it just to decide on how the flag should be. And the parade.
Well, another idea that was floated in one of the conversations was having some special banners made for our poles for the 250.
But that would be expensive.
Yeah, it'd be about, what, $1,000 to, to create it.
It's been a few years since we ordered them, so I'm not sure, but yeah,
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot.
but it's a special occasion.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice you don't use it. What are you gonna have on it?
Well, that's what we would have to try and figure that out.
But you know, some of this
That takes.
donations, I mean, some of this, I think it's fair to ask for donations, and if it's 1,000 for 250, I think we can raise that.
I think it's a good thought to have a flag.
Yeah, I like the idea, you know, it's,
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, but you gonna put it up each year?
well, no, it would be a special flag, that's why I'm thinking in terms of a donation and that, something like that.
So-
See you doing a flag one time. Flags cost.
So it sounds like there's a consensus that we should explore how to make this an event, coordinate with other organizations and the municipalities and the county to see what they're doing, invite their input. Look for opportunities to partner on things. And again, I think the notion is that it's not just going to be a one-time event on July the 4th. There are other events that are going to be leading up to this. So there'll be a number of other things over the course of several months, starting with the museum, who is marking the 250th anniversary of the Third Provincial Congress here in Hillsborough in August of this year. So I think that might actually kind of kick off the season of celebration. I don't think anybody is expecting the town staff to do this. So, because we have, to your point, we have no capacity for those things. And it would be awesome if we could figure out a way to cost share this. So it's not just the town doing this, but the tourism board and TDA, maybe the county as well. And there might be a corporate sponsor out there, Kathleen, who'd be able to.
Well,
Drop
corporate,
$10,000.
individual, I mean, this is something,
Yeah.
again, naming rights. Things like that, but also, like I said, even if it was, contributing to, if they have to hire someone to extend that capacity to do the planning. you know, I just keep looking back, it's 50 years, so it's 300. Well, what did we do for 250? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. That is just embarrassing. And a missed opportunity.
Yeah. And I know where I was on the 200th. I was at a Boy Scout camp in Tennessee called Fort Foxwell, and I remember it very well
Yeah.
when I was doing on July 4th.
But
Yes, Evan.
William Churton was a sign of Declaration of Independence, so he lived on with Nash Hooper House on West Tryon Street. Don't forget William Hooper.
That's right.
There's probably nothing left of him but his tooth and his grave because they moved his body to Greensboro. The
His essence is.
names of,
Yes,
the
that's right.
names of the revolution moved
His-
or somebody moved his body to
I
Greensboro.
read that when they moved it, they couldn't really find anything, so I like to
I
say,
think that's a
he's
truth.
still here.
He is still here.
Well, I bet
Ernie Dollar is still here. We can maybe talk him into dressing up again. He's still
And he
around.
wasn't very old when he died either. I mean, he was I should have brought Daddy's book. I mean, it's,
Oh, by the way, I have 2 copies of your daddy's book now.
do you?
I do.
They're valuable.
And what he did in 6th grade. I've got that too.
So can I make a suggestion? That is, it sounds like there's a consensus to proceed in some way. But maybe to have, you've heard all these different thoughts and opinions. I've been taking some notes. And I'd be happy to share those with you and other notes that I took at some of the other meetings, but maybe ask you to contemplate all this and then come back in 2 weeks with kind of a proposal, an idea, a sketch.
Yeah.
About how to go forward and, you know, what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Now, I know that'll take a long
Rough
time. We
budget.
can't do that, but I think if we're gonna ask Eric to do something in the budget, we've gotta have a placeholder figure.
Right.
And in my mind, that's the same placeholder figure that we would ask the tourism board TDA in Orange County. So we're all sharing that. But, you know,
That sounds reasonable. I can do that.
thoughts, pushback?
No, I think you summed it up well. I love the idea of, you know, doing something on our scale. But I'm also curious what the other municipalities in the county are kind of,
Our scale.
yeah. Yeah, we
Shannon.
Hillsborough
2
scale.
underlines
Yeah.
under that,
Mhm.
our scale.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you all. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, now we're moving on to committee updates and reports. Evelyn, would you like to start?
Let's see. They discussed, possibility of another fire station. And selling station number, let's see, station number, I have to remember the stations. Phelps, Phelps Station, where, well, the
Phelps Road.
Phelps Station. Selling that property since the county, the fire department owns that property. But that's just, it's questionable. And putting, fire department on, forgot the name of the road again, is, as you go out 86 north. And you turn to go to a church, Walnut Grove Church. Is that near you?
Yes.
Then you would have a fire department near you.
Perfect.
But that's just, let's see.
Yeah.
I
the piece of property
And
you're talking about.
let's see, that was one thing, and, there was another about, their. I don't wanna get into a discussion with the town manager, I might have been looking at him. About the training center that they want to build over on Fairboat Lane. And they, at the meeting, they said that the town was holding us up. The manager says the town is not, so. It's something about the zoning or something. He can explain more about that than I can.
If Matt can jump in, I talked to Chief Cave about it. He said the town's doing nothing to hold them up. We've done everything we can. Matt,
They need to decide a path forward if they want to pursue a text amendment or something to that effect to get around our design standards. And they also have some issues with locations of the water there. But staff, the water line that's
Yeah,
there.
that was what I
So staff has
said.
been engaged, Stephanie's in regular communication, or excuse me, Shannon is in regular communication with Chief Cave about the project.
It's an incredibly creative and innovative and effective solution for training they've come up with using the storage containers that they found that people do. So it's like, if we're able to work it out, it'll be fantastic. So, and I was emailing with Chief Cave, I just said, again, tip of the cap for coming up with like a really, great idea. And I appreciate the planning staff helping them, work through some of the obstacles, but they looked and tried, different locations in the mine. Seems like it makes sense, but they got some things to work through.
The whole thing was it wouldn't be far from the fire department, so the firemen could run back and forth if they had to. And it was discussed at the meeting about the town. It was up to the town was holding us, but was discussed. It should be in the minutes. He can say what he wants. But I was there. And I think that was and they talk about spending, I mean, they discuss spending money, and they spend money like it's goes on trees. Maybe they could give some for the Independence Day. Declaration of Independence celebration. I'll ask.
Thank you. Kathleen?
Okay, so, I am now officially a board member of National Association of Regional Councils. And so we just got back from the annual policy conference where we did meet with the entire North Carolina delegation that covers the CPRC, the Regional Council, region. So we met with Senator Tillis, Senator Budd's office, Richard Hudson, Valerie Fouché, Deborah Ross, and Brad Knott. We shared, the big pictures, in terms of the things left behind, if you will. We left the federal policy for the CPRC. We left them with the Association of Councils of Government for North Carolina, their policies, pieces of and then also addressed some key issues with the COGS. First of all, shared a little bit about how the COGS do deliver on federal and state priorities with existing infrastructure, with the point of rather than reinventing infrastructure, the COG is available to utilize that existing infrastructure to deliver regional programs a lot more effectively and efficiently. The key pieces, and as y'all know, it's changing by the minute. It's whiplash. Number one was the reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. That is funding that provides funding for things like Meals on Wheels. It also provides the ombudsman, which is the oversight of long-term care, assisted living facilities. It's providing the money that flows through the COG to the counties, the Area Agency on Aging. That has not been re-upped. We of course were advocating the criticality of that to be re-upped, as well as WIOA, which is I'll get the acronym wrong, but it's your workforce development dollars. That also has not been reauthorized. Those monies cover training throughout. That's critical, again, especially skills training for everyone from you're leaving high school to you've been laid off to you're coming out of difficult situations, whatever. That funds NC Works. It funds the workforce development boards. It's a lot of activity there. We addressed the NIH funding situation briefly. We addressed also just basically the certainty issues. Some of those that, we can navigate, but we can't navigate when we don't know. Critical on that. just to be clear, staff had no more information than we did. And that was across the board. It didn't matter who staffed. They were, what the other piece that we addressed were, even though funds had already been authorized, we granted, and so we were into reimbursement. Those, websites were down. So we were really focusing on, we've got to get some of those back up. That is still in disarray, even though the federal judge has put a hold on a lot of those. Individual agencies are still withholding. I wish I had more on that. DEI, federal judge has put a hold on part of that in the last day or two. I haven't had a chance to read through that, other than, it certainly raises the constitutional issues that I would expect would be raised. A lot of it too was addressing what we were seeing in terms of actual harm at a community level. One of the things that's very clear across the board, whether Senate side or House side, they want to know actual, give us examples. With Senator Budd, he is Freedom Caucus, which is what formerly known as Tea Party. But his key issues, veterans, economic development, efficiency, and government. From a COG standpoint, we can address all of those. But that's something that even as a local level, because we see this day in, day out. So that's something that to keep going if there are examples of specifics, please, let me know, or you can certainly, communicate with the COG, but I would ask, let me know and certainly share. Because we are collecting that. They want to know. Their phones, emails are being burned off the hook all along. We also met with Jim McCluskey with the governor's office. A very good conversation, and again, very interested in hearing what we were seeing on the ground. But a lot of uncertainty. The things are, it is a little disconcerting though, but it's consistently, since our visit, some of these sites and have opened up. But there is still a lot of instances, even though there are court orders to make it go, there are individual agencies, individual things which are not doing it. So that's just something we're gonna have to navigate. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, when you met with, all the different representatives, can you characterize how they are feeling or interpreting the kind of the chaos that's being sown? Are they down with the chaos?
There was, I would say across the board, I can't say we really got into that territory. We weren't asking for opinions. They weren't expressing opinions other than, we don't know. And they absolutely agreed clarity is needed. That's as far as opinion goes. And Frank, you only have a very limited time anyway, so our goal was to maximize, and that would have been a distraction had we pursued that.
Thank you.
So it's a continuing thing. My next conference meeting, and it's a different concept, the board retreat will be in June. I don't have those dates off the top of my head. Also, changing topics. The League's Town and State Dinner is Wednesday. And the our Crisis Center fundraising event is Thursday. And I am pleading for folks to come out. So the Rape Crisis Center lost 70% of their funding last year. Their federal grants were not renewed. They will get a match if they reach, a certain dollar figure. They're nowhere close right now. There is plenty of time to make that up, to get that match. Just to be clear, what this funding is for is they're now going to be housed in Hillsborough on 70. And so the money will be helping with the physical the facilities to ensure that it's accessible and suits their needs. Programmatically, this is what funds their programs. This is what's funding, everything from therapy to the facilitators, the peer support, also the preventive programs, and then all dealing with preventing sexual violence, sexual assault, and then supporting survivors. So y'all, this is something they serve the community. I don't have my numbers correctly, but I know it's excess of 6,000 people they've helped. The need is more than what they can support, so I plead. Tickets, first of all, sponsorships, 250 to 10,000, tickets 50, give. It is tax deductible, they are a 501c3. Lastly, with the partnership to end homelessness, with budget season, the leadership team adopted what the expanded budget to account for programs. Eric, I know you've seen this, or at least I was told that had been sent to you.
My life has been a blur the last
Okay.
couple weeks, so if I've seen it, I don't recall it, but it's more important that the budget staff has seen.
Okay, well, it's one of those, I've been told that it's been shared that it was shared as soon as that it was adopted. My dates are wrong, so 2 weeks ago, I think it was, again, my dates are gonna be screwy. But, if you haven't, let me know.
I'm pretty confident I haven't seen it.
No worries. Also for one of the things I want to share, I am on the executive committee for the Orange County, Reentry Council, and we are doing our strategic planning. I did facilitate the SWOT analysis of that piece, but, one of the things I did learn, it was, when it was formed 2017, we're one of the oldest in the state. And certainly are setting the standard for the rest of the state, which I find that really exciting. And there's probably more, but I'll shut up for now.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you. I'm going to use my notes a little bit more than I normally would, covering from a migraine earlier today. I know that not everyone who watches our YouTube stream probably watched the joint meeting we had with the county commissioners, but last Monday, but I did think that went very well, and Commissioner McKee, who was not able to make it due to a procedure the next day, called me and asked me how I thought it went, gave him some good feedback. So that was well received from him, or by him rather, especially since he's the longest serving county commissioner we have currently. The Visitors Bureau meeting was postponed due to weather last week for two reasons. The first is the impending weather and, of course, the unpredictability of weather in North Carolina. But the other is because we were going to be meeting at the Carolina Inn, and they were actually asking their staff to stay Wednesday night, and therefore they had some capacity issues with schedules and stuff. So we will be rolling likely right into, not rescheduling it, but rolling into the next meeting in March, which I will not be able to attend. But I did send an email to Mayor Bell and Shannon about the previous round of rebranding discussions that the Visitors Bureau did. I'd love to pick their brains because it was mentioned about Hillsborough having faults back then and whatnot, but there are partners that are part of the Visitors Bureau who are not representing Chapel Hill, who don't want to see the other communities kind of shunted down a little bit in visibility with the branding. So that should be an interesting conversation, but I would love to get the history of that. MPO will be meeting tomorrow. I'll be zooming into that. I was going to be attending the regional day, with Central Pines Regional Council. I finally have excised Triangle J from my vocabulary. I'm looking forward to whenever that happens to get rescheduled. And then also the Burwell Gala is this weekend on Saturday. And you should have gotten a special invitation, Commissioner Lloyd.
I did.
Okay, good. They assured me, the staff assured me that you got a special invite. But that should be, fun. It will begin, I think, at 5:30, at the Whitted Building, on Saturday, March 1st. Hard to believe, March is this week, but here we are. And, I also had an opportunity to chat, with Congresswoman Foushee and to, back up what, Commissioner Ferguson was saying. Her response in so many ways about the uncertainty and the things that are going on was kind of, you probably know just about as much as I do based on what's out there in the public sphere and the news reports about various federal funding. You know, she went through going to agencies where members of Congress have typically been allowed, only to be barred by security and whatnot, by private security. But Congresswoman Foushee, I was just saying, was saying exactly what you were, which is, you know, just about as much as we do, which is scary that Congress appropriates dollars and doesn't know how those will be spent when shall means shall. So, but other than that, I don't think I have any other updates. Thank you, Matt.
For me, regarding my two, board assignments, SWAG has, not yet been scheduled as far as I know.
It's been scheduled, but just, it's
Has
still
it?
a couple of March something.
And then, yes, I'll be at the TPO meeting tomorrow, formerly MPO meeting. In terms of, mayoral kinds of duties and things you would be interested to know about, I've already mentioned a couple meetings with organizations about the A250. The chamber meeting, was last week, and they had a tenant upstairs in their building who flooded the downstairs, so it was a remote meeting. Attended the NC Mayors Association, which was great. I saw, Mayor Henderson from Chapel Hill, Mayor Foushee from Carrboro, and about 60 other mayors from across the state. We had a nice presentation from, Mike Woodard, former Senator Woodard, about working with your local delegations, and received various updates about, federal programs and, miscellaneous things. So it's a great meeting. And then, I represent the town of Hillsborough at the, Morrow lynching marker dedication, recently. That was a fantastic presentation. I hope you've all had a chance to see, if you weren't there. If you stop by and see the marker, it's on the back side of the courthouse facing the new courthouse, kind of between them. And that was just a great presentation, and it was, I just can't say enough good things about that. But for those of you who don't know, or maybe you're watching online, it was a memorial marker presented commemorating the deaths of Washington Morrow, Thomas Jefferson Morrow, and Daniel Morrow, who were lynched in Orange County in 1869, I think. So that was a great program.
Did they end up doing it outside or did they?
It was moved indoors for the rain, but then we did a quick unveiling of the marker outdoors. It was, yeah, cold and rainy. That's it. Rob.
Thank you. So we had Parks Recreation meeting last week, and the main kind of topic we were talking about is doing a master plan for Riverwalk. So Riverwalk, believe it or not, has never had a master plan. Kind of got built design when Gold Park was kind of going through theirs, and they knew that, you know, we had this linear run, but it's never actually had a master plan that kind of talks about maintenance and amenities and some other things for the future. So the Parks Recreation Board is going to focus on creating a master plan for Riverwalk. Riverwalk. over the next probably 6 months. We also reviewed the 10-year anniversary press release for Riverwalk and the benefits analysis to really kind of guide that discussion about regarding master plan. And it's really the benefits, so many things that we realized, later on, that were not necessarily foreseen when it was being built. Like, environmental benefits of having a greenway kind of through your town, and everything from, transportation to education to economic development. So many benefits that we really want to kind of emphasize, and then also with our future, hopefully Rich Rock also that would roll into that. We dubbed our meeting schedule for 2025, and we had election of officers. The officers didn't change, so Cole will continue. Cole Kenworthy will continue as the board chair, although he does rotate off sometime this year, this calendar year. And then Richard Van Furstenberg will continue as the vice chair. And then when Cole rolls off, they'll reshuffle those, or Richard will cover as the chair until they elect a new one. Stephanie shared that we're looking to have a new kayak launch, hopefully in the future, but looking to essentially put the kayak launch pad back in East Highway Park with much taller poles in the future. So if we get a super flood, hopefully it'll still be there. And then looking again at one of the things the Park Recreation Board has been talking about is repurposing the field at Case Creek Park, and how can we utilize that space differently. One of the things that we've been hearing for many years in this community is we need more basketball courts. So we need basketball courts because we don't really actually have any that we own
No,
ourselves.
we don't. We have not.
Yeah, and that's one of the areas, it's one of the places that we had kind of penciled in that, this would be a good appropriate, place in park for basketball courts. And so they're moving forward with potential design of and costs about what it would be to put in a couple basketball courts over there in the far end of the field near the skate park. I don't know if you've been over to Case Creek recently too. I know Matt has, I'm sure he's noticed this too, but they bought the tree board has also done a little bit of reforestation on the field area, basically provide future shade because they're going to lose a lot of those pines in the next 10 or so years on the edge of the forest and stuff. And then as those trees grow up and become mature, it'll provide some natural shade for that area of the field and maybe the skate park. And the other thing we talked about is potential shelters at Cates Creek, and looking to design and funding for those two moving forward. That's all I got.
Thank you, Brown. Megan.
I'll start out by seconding your for the committee that did the Morrow recognition. They did a wonderful job. The keynote speaker, Dr. Kelly, was he just took us all back to that day and that time. So it was really powerful, and really, get a chance to go look at it. As for other meetings that I attended, I went to the first Hillsborough Chamber Merchants Association, which was held here, and an in-depth discussion about Ladies' Day, which will be held on May 1st this year. And then we also discussed some seminars that would be planned throughout the year, and the first one will be on March 31st. And then the other meeting that I attended was the TDA, and we had the Seafood Festival representative come and speak with us. And this has been in Eflin for a good many years, and they want to move it here to Hillsborough. So we discussed many facets of what that means to move it to Hillsborough. And so the committee's off and running and trying to make sure that they've got all their permits in place, and Shannon's been helping him out with that, but that would be May 16th and the 17th.
this year.
Yes, this year. And then we also had a brief discussion about the cultural arts facility that we all heard from Katie Murray at the joint meeting with the county commissioners. That's the updates that I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, any burning issues to bring forward?
I'm sure there are, but I'm not aware of them at the moment.
Okay. Well, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kathleen. All in favor?
Bye.
Have a good night.